Hi everyone. Welcome to the initial. Hi everyone. Welcome to the initial intensive preparations session. We're just going to wait a few more minutes because at the moment we can see that not everyone has quite yet joined us. So I'm just going to hold on 2 more minutes. Just had a few people join us now, so welcome. Haven't quite started yet. So while we have people continuing to join us, it's going to be an excellent time for Liam and I to introduce ourselves. I'm Amelia, so you may have met a number of me at the selection days. I might be your recruitment manager. I am the partnerships and advocacy manager on the recruitment team at Teach for Australia. I'm really excited today, and as I can keep seeing viewers joining us, that I'm going to have an opportunity to kind of talk through with you what you can expect at II, the types of things you need to bring. A number of you have already taken the opportunity to send through a full bunch of questions, so we're going to do what we can to answer those questions. But before I go any further, I'd like to introduce my esteemed guest here. We're very lucky to have Liam Wood with us. Liam will actually be running the initial intensive. The official term that he's got is site manager. So Liam will probably be one of the only faces that you'll see regularly and every day at II, and will be there to help and support you. Liam is, as I mentioned, from cohort 2011. I'll let you take over.
Hey guys, pleasure to meet you. I'm looking forward to meeting you all in person next week. So I'm an alumni of the program. I went through in our second cohort. I'm now a TLA, which is our instructional coaches. You will all have one of those. And I currently coach 23 teachers across Victoria. Over intensive, as Amelia said, I'm basically going to be managing the site. The curriculum was put together by our curriculum manager, Erie Lane, but she is about to have a baby. So I'll be running things on the ground and I'll be with you the whole time. The rest of our teaching and leadership team will be coming in and out to run sessions, the same with Deacon's team, and we'll be there during the school prac. You'll get plenty of time with different individuals on the team. What we were hoping to run you through tonight was a response to a range of the questions that have been coming through for recruitment, and also some general FAQs from the teaching and leadership side of things. We've also had a list of questions that have come through in the last few days from Amelia.
Great. So what I'm going to do now is just run through some of the things that are really important for you to prepare as soon as you arrive. If you haven't got a pen and paper, now would be worth getting one. Otherwise, maybe taking notes on the device that you've got in front of you, or even just to making sure that you've got this link for later to come and have a look, because these are really important things that will be great to have on you as soon as you arrive. So in terms of how arrival will work, a number of you are obviously not Victorian based, so you'll be flying in or driving in. Just remember that there is an expectation that you are at Warrnambool sharply by 4 p.m. So that is when we absolutely need to have you at Warrnambool by for check-in. So whether you're driving or any other way, if you're coming by yourself, you need to be there at that time. For those of you who are coming by plane, Lauren Smith, who I'm sure a lot of you have spoken with, she has the advocacy and recruitment manager for New South Wales, and she's also been doing all our matriculation work. She has blonde hair, English accent. She'll be meeting you at the airport. So Lauren will be there from 11 a.m. She'll be ticking all your names off a list so she knows who to expect. So if a flight is delayed or if you're running late, don't worry. She knows to expect you. She wanted to remind you to meet her at the High Tide Cafe, which is at Terminal 3 at the Virgin Terminal, and it's between the Jetstar and the international terminals. So just a reminder that if you are flying in, that's where you will be meeting Lauren. The coach will be leaving from the airport between 12:30 and 1, but please remember again that if you are flying in and Lauren is expecting you, they're not going to rush off without you. She'll make sure to be in contact with you. the coach Lauren will not be getting on the coach with you, just so you know. When you arrive at II on Thursday, it will be Liam and I who will be greeting you, which is another really important reason why we wanted to make sure that you saw our faces today. There will be another number of other staff at Warrnambool during the entire period. So that staff will include a number of Liam's colleagues who are teaching and leadership advisors. Now, you won't know during the course of Warrnambool who exactly will be your teacher coach, because that won't be decided until January. However, the teacher coaches will be there. They're an amazing resource. They're experts in their field and certainly available for conversation with you. However, in terms of contacts, Liam and our project support officer who will be on the ground.
Yeah. So in terms of contacts, my name and phone number will be on everything that you get. I'm your go-to person, and also Bree McLaughlin, who will be our project support officer, who is also an alumnus of the program and has just come back from being an assistant principal at a charter school over in America. So total legend, but we'll also be able to look after any questions that you've got. So broadly, questions will go to Bree or to myself. Obviously, there'll be other people from our teams. We're going to have you in regional groups for a lot of the intensive, and where possible, we will have TLAs from your region with those groups so that you get to know them. There will be times where that's not possible, but most of the time there will be that. So you will get to know, and also in the prac schools, we have TLAs leading each of those prac schools. So there will be staff that you get to spend more time with and get to know over the course of the intensive. While we're on check-in, if you are not on the bus from the airport, we very highly recommend that you get to Warrnambool by 3 o'clock, because if the bus beats you, you have to join the line. So getting in before the bus means you don't wait in the queue. The other thing is, the reason we say hard deadline on 4 o'clock is our sessions start at 5:30 on the dot. Once you check in with us, you'll get your room keys. You can go set up in your house. We want to give you time to do all of that. You'll also be receiving a Coles voucher, and we'll get onto food later. But if you come early enough, there will be an opportunity to maybe go and do some of your grocery shopping then in that time. If not, you can do it the following morning.
Great.
Anything else on check-in?
So the other thing on check-in that we want to make sure you have is a clear understanding of what you need to have on you. So when you arrive, you will be checking in. So a lot of you would have done a short stay form for Warrnambool. Basically, that's Deacon's University's, can you please sign this to say that you're going to look after your room and you're going to make sure you don't lose your key. So that was an important piece. If you haven't done that, it is required to us ASAP. That is not documentation that we want to be wasting time doing when you arrive. So please, if you haven't done that, please make sure to do that already. And certainly for any of you that are on the line and passing on information to other future associates, please remind them that that piece of documentation, have it done before you arrive. A little piece of something to be aware of, there will be a number of people attending the initial intensive that will not have a placement. So they won't know what school they're going to yet. If you are one of those people, we'll be working hard during the entirety of initial intensive to find you a placement. And we'll be getting in touch with you when and where we can. But I think it's just a reminder to everybody that while there is a lot of regional work, to be mindful that there are people that are still a little bit unaware of where it is they will be working. Okay, so documentation that you require upon arrival. So your passport or birth certificate and PR if you're not an Australian citizen, if you could have at least 5 copies of those things. So at least 5 copies of your passport or 5 copies of your birth certificate. And if you are a PR, if you hold a PR, please have at least 5 copies of your PR. They need to be originals or coloured certified copies, please. You need to have your completed final transcripts, not your actual graduation certificate, your completed final transcripts. I know there are a number of you that have PhDs and things that aren't maybe coming through till later. Please make sure to get in contact with your recruitment manager about those things. If you've not graduated, a statement of enrolment is really important, or the most up-to-date transcript. Open University courses, your statement of enrolment is also, please ensure to have that on you. And again, 5 copies of each of these things would be ideal because you do require them at a number of different times. And anything not completed that you might need certified copies of. So just please remember that it would be great to have certified copies of everything, enrolment statements, not certificates, for example. So please make sure you have that on you. Also making sure that you have on you your Working with Children's check, or you have on you a receipt that says you have got your Working with Children's check for Victoria. That will be required. Liam and I need to cite that upon arrival. The other thing for Victorians only, please remember that you need your permission to teach. So you will need to have that documentation on you on your arrival. So that's a lot of documentation. So please remember that all those things are required. It does get a little messy, and yes, there are printers and things down there. It's a little bit of a runaround to do it, and it is fantastic if you can arrive with those things done. We do have someone on staff that can notarize things, but he won't be available on the first day, and we really do try and make sure that documentation is completed, so it's one last thing you have to worry about. Liam, anything to add on that?
Not on the documentation side. We will have, so if things do need to get run to the post office and that sort of thing, Bree will be helping out doing post office runs in those first few days. What I can say from associate experiences in the last few years is what seems like a bit of a pain to spend an hour doing documentation now becomes an astronomical pain when you're in classes all day or at school all day and doing assignments and that sort of things. It's a lot less stressful to do it beforehand. I know that you probably are leading very busy lives in the lead up to this, and I understand that time might be a bit of a struggle, but once we're down there, it does become a lot more of a hassle. So if you can do it, that's fantastic. If you absolutely can't and need support with that down there, we'll support you, and we can get things to the post office and that sort of thing as well. But obviously, based on experience of the last couple of years, it's a lot less stressful if you can get it done in advance.
Fantastic, thank you. Which kind of leads us on to, again, making sure you know who your contact person is. So again, Liam will be your #1 contact person, Bree your #2 contact person, or perhaps equally #1. I'll be there as well, supporting you where I can, specifically for the first 2 weeks. And also we will have Rodney Draper down there. So Rodney Draper will specifically be supporting with mental health issues or any kind of stress that you might be experiencing. Now, we know a lot of you have said that you don't necessarily identify as having a mental health issue, but certainly you might be finding stress or the being away from home becoming quite overwhelming, as you are doing a lot and you are very busy and in class all the time. There's not often a chance for you to just kind of take a break. So if you do find yourself getting overwhelmed, we are absolutely encouraging you to please have a chat with Rodney. It is a priority. Bernie, who works for Deakin University and will be introducing herself on the first day, is also there and available as a contact for you in that way. She's fantastic. She's done this many times, and she's a wonderful support. So with that,
I'll just add to that.
Absolutely.
So there's, don't get too worried about too many contact people. I would say on the academic side, if you have anything with Deakin, that will go directly either to the chairs of your subjects or to Bernie, who's the head of the program, or to Julie McCusker, who runs the project side. You'll meet all of them on the first day. There are lots of people you can reach out to for help. So Rodney is down there specifically to support because he has a lot of experience in that area. But if Rodney's not down, or if you don't have a relationship with Rodney because you haven't got to know him yet, just reach out. I mean, what we're talking about here is it's an intense program. A lot of people find it very stressful. You will have assignments due from almost the first week, if not actually the first week. You need to keep on top of that. You're in schools teaching classes for the first time. Everyone's away from their families. We understand that this is a tough time. At the same time, it's a really exciting time. You're joining a new community, and every single person in that community wants to see you succeed. So the biggest thing we would say is if you're struggling, reach out. because there's lots of supports in place. There's lots of ways that we can help you. And I don't know a single associate who didn't struggle at all during intensive. So just, don't feel that you need to sort of hide in your room or skip classes or anything like that. If you feel like you need a break, if things are getting too intense, come and talk to us about it, and we're there to support you.
Great, thank you. With that, why don't we get on to the logistics of rooms? Because I know a number of you have had questions about rooms. So the staff rooms, your rooms, all the rooms are exactly the same. So we're all going to be experiencing the same things. Where you have indicated that you would prefer to be in an all-female room or an all-male room, we have absolutely done our very best to accommodate that. The reality is that we won't be able to give you details about rooms or what room you're in or who you're with until we are down there.
I can give you a rundown of what the accommodation is like, though.
That would be wonderful. Before Liam does that, just one more note. Some of you this year, with some feedback, thanks to their associates currently in the classroom, there was some feedback about perhaps providing quieter rooms. Now, with those quieter rooms, that's exactly what they will be, quiet rooms. The walls are not soundproof, so the reality is you won't be able to blast your music or practice your instruments or doing anything that is particularly loud in those rooms. They are a quiet space, and if that's what you've requested, then again, we've done our best to accommodate for that. But you need to be mindful that the expectation is that that is a quiet, calm space, because people have specifically requested that. So just being mindful that that's what that space will look like for those people. And of course, we've tried to do those rooms in a section that is together, perhaps in a little bit of a quieter section as well. In terms of room, Liam.
Okay, so what Amelia's talking about there is the quiet house. So a lot of the rooms, there's a mixture of accommodation there. It's all of the same standard, mostly in small houses or small sort of blocks of units. The houses are called the mansions. You'll see why when you get there. Essentially what they are college accommodation. Everybody has a private room that has a bed and a desk in it. There's no exceptions to that. We're in no way asking you to share rooms. All of those spaces, though, have shared kitchen and living areas. And shared bathrooms. TFA will have provided staples in each of those kitchens. Think salt, pepper, oil, tea, coffee, UHT milk, soy milk, laundry powder, those kinds of things. And the kitchens are really well equipped for cooking for yourself. And those houses are organised by region unless you requested the quiet house, which is organised by people who requested the quiet house. In terms of, while we're on the kitchen, I think I'll just explain meals. Is that okay? Does
Absolutely, yep.
So if you look at the Team Up calendar, which has been sent out to you, that is the schedule for the intensive. So I saw in some of the questions, people were asking, what's the schedule? It's all on there. The only things that aren't on that calendar is fixed. The only things that aren't on there are room numbers for some of the sessions, which we'll be updating on a weekly basis. So by the time you arrive, the first week of rooms will be in there. So what you can see on that calendar is if a meal is listed on that calendar, if it's lunch or dinner or breakfast, that means that meal is provided to you by our catering company there, the Ginger Kitchen. So those meals you don't need to provide for yourself. If a meal is not listed on the schedule, that means it's a self-provided meal. So that's going to be breakfasts and lunches when you're at prac. Actually, maybe, breakfasts all of the time, lunches when you're at prac. When we have facilitation days, we provide lunch because there's not time for you to prepare. And most dinners are provided. You'll see on the calendar what that looks like, other than Saturday nights when we don't run sessions on Saturdays at all, so there's no meals provided. When you arrive, you'll receive a Coles voucher, which you can use to buy food to make for your breakfasts and lunches and those meals that aren't on the calendar. What we strongly suggest is pooling those vouchers in your house, because obviously they go a lot further if you don't buy 10 tubs of margarine and that sort of thing. Other than that, let me just have a look. The only exception for breakfasts.
How much will be on those cards?
So I don't know what the exact value of those cards are, but in a follow-up communication, we'll send that out to you. There are a few questions that I may not have the answer to. I've just actually spent my last day in schools today, and I've just stepped over into this role yesterday. So I I know a lot of things from spending a whole day with Ira yesterday. There are a few fine details, like the value of the vouchers, that I'm not across. But I'm noting down anything that I don't answer from today from questions that we've got, and we can send that in a follow-up. Let me just take a note of that.
Bearing in mind as well that your pre-arrival guide is one of the best places to check all this information. Everything that Liam and I is giving you is more or less in the pre-arrival guide, with the exception of a few nuances that we're providing. But again, anything that you're not sure about, or you want to double check, or you feel like you missed, this video will be up for a while, so you'll be able to fast forward and through and check the bits again. But also please be reading your pre-arrival guide. That has been based off heaps of feedback that we've received from associates and all the information that the teaching and leadership team have provided us. So it's a really good place to check.
So just while we're on meals, I'll just finish the last couple of things on that. You will notice if you look on the Team Up calendar that there are CEO breakfasts and dinners listed. Essentially, we want to give everyone an opportunity to have a meal with Melody, our CEO. She's going to be coming down quite a bit and making herself really available to you. We're in a great moment where every associate can still spend time with the CEO of the organisation. That's something that some of our bigger partners overseas really can't offer. So what we are going to do is allocate you to those meals so that everybody gets a fair go and nobody misses out. If there's a CEO breakfast on, we're obviously providing the breakfast. If there's a CEO dinner, often those are on nights that we're already providing dinner, but we'll give you directions to where those are. You'll also see on the calendar affinity group dinners, or what was the other one? Or conversation group dinners. Essentially what that means is we will set aside a table in the dining hall for those particular groups who have a similar interest or a similar background. So one of the affinity groups might be associates who are parents of young families, and you can get together and talk about the challenges and opportunities there. So all those things, all the details of how those will run, you'll get closer to the date, but that's pretty much everything on food for right now.
Cool.
What was next on your
list? So what we might do now is just run through a few of the questions that you've provided us.
I've got a couple more things.
Great. So in terms of pre-work and those kind of things, if you've got more details on that, we might close off with that, and then we'll run through things like what to expect largely from II, what does it look like, things like the TLAs take roll call at the beginning of each session, what to wear, what does the school practicum look like, all those kind of things. So I'll just run through those things quite quickly. Was there anything else regarding logistics, arrival, or sleeping arrangements, or anything in general like that that you wanted to add?
Not logistics or arrival. I do have, so pre-work. The expectation is that all of the pre-work will be finished before the start of the intensive, which is November 18. What we will do in the next Associate Blast, which is going to come to you on November 11, it will outline which sessions you need the particular pieces of pre-work for. So if for some instance you've been trekking in Nepal and just got back, or there's a reason that you haven't been able to complete that pre-work, what you'll get in the next blast is an explanation of exactly when you need those documents. So if you need to catch up on it once you're at II, you can do it in time to be prepared for your sessions. If you have the opportunity to complete the pre-work before you come, I would strongly recommend it. Deacon will tell you about your first assignment on the first day of II. You will have assignments due throughout the intensive, and you will have sessions or school prac 6 days a week. So one of the big questions we've seen come through is time management. What are the days like? We've really tried to make this easier over the past few years in terms of time management. There are pretty much no evening sessions after the first few days because we know you're having big days at prac. We also know that some people are traveling quite far to prac sites. The only thing that's in the evening are debriefs on your prac days. You can choose to do those in person, or there's some other really interesting ways to do them. So there's podcasts, there's conversation questions, so you can do that work on the bus ride home from prac if you're in a prac that is bus to, or in the car home with other associates, so that we can free up those evenings for you to manage your time and your energy in the way that you need to. So in that sense, expect to work during the day every day. We are starting later on Sundays this year. We don't start till 11 a.m. on Sundays. But on the other days, you'll be at school by 8:30 in the morning during prac. Sessions start at 9 a.m. on session days, and they run through till 5. Your school day will run through till around 3:30 or 4:30 during the school prac. I'm going to run through some more information on the prac once we check off some of the other questions. I'll probably finish with that. Does that work for you?
Mm-hmm.
The last thing I want to say about time management is try to really stay on top of your Deakin work. There's a lot of information in the cloud portal that they'll give you that'll tell you when things are due. Also, there's a lot of other really organized associates there. If staying on top of timetables and when things are due isn't your strongest point, lean on them. But also, there's heaps of Deakin staff around to help you if you get stuck with that. So just like I said before with wellbeing, also with academics, if you don't understand something or you're feeling super stressed, reach out. There's people there to support you.
Great. So we know this is a lot of information. We know we're giving you a lot, and we do really appreciate you staying on the line and listening to it all. Of course, there is people that will be there to be able to support you and help you. So ask questions. Don't feel like you need to know everything. There is one more thing to note, which is that when you arrive, the recruitment managers will obviously no longer be your contacts. So the people at Warrnambool will be your contacts. So it's kind of this very subtle, unspoken handover where unfortunately we're not your contacts anymore, but that's when you begin your journey with the teaching and leadership team, and they'll actually take over from us. In terms of those people wondering when they will hear about placement and who they will hear about placement from, that will be a combined effort between regions, the teaching and leadership team, and the recruitment team. So as we're all supporting that process, it is an understanding that you will hear from one of us regarding where your placement is. So quick questions. Liam, what do I wear? What do I wear to the days? What do I wear to the school practicum? Should I be comfortable? What should I be packing? Is it cold? Is it hot? Can I swim?
Great questions. Okay, so I'll start with just Warrnambool in general. Obviously, it's Australia in the middle of summer. It is quite hot, but Warrnambool is also very, very windy. So I would pack some warm clothes. Don't anticipate it's going to be hot all of the time. And if you have something windproof, that's also wise. You will, on your time off, there's beautiful beaches there. There's also a river that you can swim in that's literally on campus. It's one of the borders of the campus. So if you are into swimming, bring attire for that. In terms of what you need for during the days, on our days that we are running sessions, we have no expectation about dress. You don't have to turn up in a suit to our sessions or anything like that. Just be comfortable. When you're in school prac, it's slightly different. So I would say school prac for, it's probably business casual. So collared shirt, chinos, usually not denim. I would probably, as a rule, say not jeans. You may see some teachers there in jeans and shorts, but we're the guests in their school. So I would say like a pair of chinos would probably be better than a pair of jeans.
And if you're a woman who doesn't have a pair of chinos?
Yes, of course. Obviously, dresses and skirts are fine. Tops are fine. When you get up there, Bernie will give you the talk about revealing clothing, which is basically obviously not anything about like what you wear, but it's also about being conscious if you've been in other workplaces that you're also working with teenagers. So, clothes that pull up. What does she call it? The bend and lift test. So basically just think about the clothing that you're wearing, and it should be appropriate for a business place. And so, yeah, generally business casual. It'd be good to have some stuff in that sense.
Absolutely. In most cases, what you wore to selection and that type of attire would absolutely be appropriate for wearing in a classroom. So your classic blazers, high necklines. If you don't have the chinos and you want to wear a suit, wearing a suit's absolutely fine.
Yeah, people wear suits last year.
Yeah, just making sure that we don't expect you to go out and buy new things, but just being mindful that we want you to present in leaning on the conservative side, as we want to keep working with these classrooms in Warrnambool. Some of the associates will actually be going into the schools that they'll be working in. So we do work in a lot of schools where the attire is traditionally more relaxed. Teach for Australia as an organisation, we certainly promote business casual even to our associates during their time as teachers. So it's a good chance for you to get comfortable with looking a little bit different to some of the teachers, I would say.
And if you've been in if you've been in the school, so the way the prac works, we do 2 days in 1 week, 3 days the following week, and 5 days the week after that. If you've been in there for a few days and they're like, hey, you can drop the suit now, you know, fit in a bit more, that's fine as well. But I would say on the first day, go in with the sort of more conservative business casual attire.
How does the school practicum work, Liam? Am I standing in front of a classroom by myself delivering a class?
No, well, you may at some point, but you definitely won't be doing that on day one. So the way that the school prac works, as I said, you're in there for 2 days in the first week, then 3, then 5, and we're kind of looking at a gradual release. So the idea is that you'll get in there and on the first day, you shouldn't be doing any teaching. You might be helping out in a classroom, but you'll really just be observing, getting to know your school. The prac will look very different for different people. The one consistent thing is that it's 10 days, but we also have 13 different partner schools across South West Victoria, 3 of which are primary schools. And so the prac experience will be different for different people, but the outcomes will be the same for all of you. The 2 professional units that you're taking there through Deakin, a lot of the work for those takes place during the prac experience, and completing prac is a condition of passing those subjects. Some of you might be thinking, what happens if I get really sick? 2 years ago, we had an awful gastro outbreak, which will never happen again. And quite a few people missed the conditional amount of prac that they needed, and we were able to follow up with that paperwork once they got into their schools. So it's not the end of the world, you're out of the program if you miss days of prac, but it's really advised that you don't miss any prac, because it's really important for these subjects, and it's a bit of a hassle to get it done down the road. And the prac is just a great experience. By and large, people were pretty terrified on the first few days, but had an awesome time last year. The schools that we're working in are great. The students are fantastic.
So you can expect to be watching a number of classes?
Yes.
And then following that, you will be...
So you'll be observing classes. You'll also be doing some of the groundwork for your Deakin assignments, which is ethnographic assignments. So you'll be going around the school, seeing what the school is like, what the culture is like. You'll be sitting in on meetings, that sort of thing. Some of the schools have organised professional development for people who are there, which is fantastic. So sessions on literacy and that sort of thing, and you'll be taking part of those. We really are asking that other than work there that contributes to your assignments, you're not there doing your assignments during the day, you're there taking part in the school life. And every associate will take part in 5 teaching experiences, a minimum of 5. Some people do a lot more than that, but everyone will do at least 5. So what those can be are team teaching together, sometimes team teaching with your mentor, but at least 3 of them will be individual teaching experiences to a class. That doesn't necessarily mean running an entire hour-long class on your own. It might be that you run a few activities, and during that time you'll also be observed. You'll be observed by a Deakin staff member, you'll be observed by a Teach for Australia staff member, and you'll have coaching conversations after that and get feedback and be able to incorporate it. You'll also have support. You'll be trained to plan lessons, trained in behaviour management. All those things happen before you go into the prac. It's staged in a way that you'll have those skills going in. We're not just going to throw you in and be like, great job on the sample lesson, you've got this. The other thing is we'll then be giving you feedback throughout and working with you. TLAs will be there to support with your planning as well, especially those who are based in your school. So it's a very supportive process.
Great. So with that, I know that there are some concerns from a few of you regarding Deakin learning areas versus what you're actually teaching. So, and that's a completely understandable concern. So what I'm going to try and do now is mitigate that with a bit more information. So I guess the question is, why is it that the learning areas don't match up with what I've been placed to teach? So a few things to bear in mind here. This is very normal. That's the first one. There's only capacity to enroll you in 2 learning areas, and therefore many associates will teach in areas they are not enrolled in. TFA, schools and Deakin are accustomed to this and work to support associates to obtain the subject-specific resources they need to be successful teachers in their specialisations. Your teaching and leadership advisor will connect you with associates and alum who teach or taught the subjects you're not enrolled in, so that you have subject-specific support. And your in-school mentor will be able to connect you with school-based subject-specific support as well. So the vast majority of your Masters of Teaching is focused on core teaching skills rather than discipline-specific skills. Even the subject-specific skills taught in the discrete learning areas can be applied across disciplines. Now, I know this is confusing information, and again, if there's anything or any further information you need around this before II, please contact your recruitment manager, because they have all this information in front of them. So just a couple of more things on this topic. Deakin's enrolment regulations are based on the Victorian Institute of Teaching's guidelines, which many of you should be familiar with. So these regulations typically are stricter than the permission to teach requirements. For example, you may gain permission to teach English in Western Australia, but not meet Deakin's learning area requirements. In this case, you would teach English and receive support to teach English from TFA in your school, but you would not be enrolled in the English learning area at Deakin. So hopefully that has explained it, that we can go into more detail regarding that if this is for you. But again, given there's a number of you online, I don't want to labour on any one point too hard.
Where are we? I think I'm here.
Oh no. Oh no. Does that mean I went up? Oh no. Oh, I think we went offline.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry, everyone.
Sorry if we just broke up there or looked like we were fumbling through the computer for a bit. I just want to add to the points there about learning areas. You definitely, once you're in your school that you're going to be in for 2 years, you will not teach outside your permission to teach areas. You may teach outside the learning areas that you're studying at Deakin, but it is not legal for you to teach outside your permission to teach areas. If that seems to be the case at any point, please raise it with us, with your TLA, and we will actually be checking in on that stuff. During the prac that takes place in Warrnambool, it is very likely that you may not teach in either your learning areas or your permission to teach areas. Most of the schools are doing rollover at that stage of the year, so they're putting together their classes and students for the next year. And the logistics of trying to place everyone in all the different schools means that it's highly likely that you may teach something that isn't your subject area. The point of the prac is not to practice teaching in your subject area, it's to practice basic teaching skills that are true across all subject areas. And that's what the training that you'll be getting from both us and Deakin are. And the prac experience is an opportunity to apply that. So please don't stress if you're not in your teaching area during prac. We've had that in the last few years and people have done fantastically well.
Great. Okay, let's quickly move on because we've already been chatting to you for 40 minutes. So I imagine a few of you are probably pretty ready for us to wind this up. So we'll do our best to do that. Liam's already touched on absences or falling sick during II. Obviously, we know these things happen. You can't be go, go, go the whole time. Again, we want you to make sure that you're connecting with people and reaching out. If you're going to be absent, if you're not feeling well, reach out to your contact people, reach out to the people that you've connected with from TFA or from Deakin. We work very closely together the entire time. So make sure you don't just wait until you're feeling absolutely horrible and can't get out of bed. Have that conversation. We're there to support you. We want to support you.
And anticipate. So we will be taking roll at every session, and if you're not there, we will follow up. That's not because we're Big Brother, it's because a lot of this curriculum is really critical. We want to make sure you don't miss anything. We also want to make sure if you are in bed with a massive fever, that we know that's happening, that we can make sure someone can run to the chemist for you and help you out, or that if you're in bed because you're exhausted, we can talk to you about, okay, this is probably a good session to skip. Let's get you back in after lunch, that sort of thing. So we really need to know that stuff, and we will be following up on it to make sure that everyone's doing okay.
Great. Just a couple of other things. A day in the life of the associate, I think we've covered pretty much. It is hectic. Days do start early. So there are things that we want you to think about. For example, if you're someone that operates best with some physical exercise, you're going to need to plan that around your days. So that might look like getting up at 5:30 in the morning to get in a run before you start class, or being comfortable with a late night run. Just letting people know where you are is going to be really important as well. So while we understand that a lot of people like to be autonomous and independent in that time, it's always a good idea if you're going for a run late at night or early in the morning, perhaps letting someone know the day before that that's your plan, just so that we can all be collectively responsible for each other, which is really important. The other thing is bearing in mind that you're in Victoria. So for a lot of you, you will need to plan time to speak to your family, your partners, your loved ones, or any significant others in your life. It is hectic. You're going to be working long days. So being able to plan that time that you're going to put aside to speak to, your family or whoever it is, will be really, really important and much needed. So considering your timetable and considering when you can do that, it's also something great to look forward to if you've had a big week. And if you have plan a midweek chat every week or an end of week chat, just making sure that you make time to do that.
And planning ahead for that, the Team Up calendar, as I said before, has everything on the schedule on it. The only things that you might have that are not on that calendar are during prac. You might have debriefs with somebody who observed you back at Warrnambool after hours, but that's always negotiated between you and them. So it's not going to be like suddenly we're asking you to turn up to something. So you pretty much can start to look at planning your days. I would say for the prac days, anticipate that you will be on the road to your school between 7 and 7:30 in the morning. So if you are thinking, like I will be, about exercising early in the morning and getting a brekkie in before you go in and teach, just plan that way. But all that stuff you can work out when you're down there. There's also a gym on campus. They will be doing, I believe, $20 memberships for the entirety of the time that you're down there, which is a pretty good deal. I would probably check their opening hours and check your schedule to see if that's going to work for you. But it's a small gym, but it's pretty well equipped.
Excellent. There was just a couple of other questions, and I can see a few of you have been asking questions as we've gone along. So kind of what does Warrnambool look like? It is a little bit way out of town. So certainly if there's someone driving into town, we absolutely recommend, sharing cars and jumping in. As you may have been told, parking has changed. So as of the 28th, parking will be free. Up until then, you will be required to pay for parking. So please always be really vigilant about that. There are parking inspectors around despite the kind of relatively quiet nature of Warrnambool in that time. We're approximately...
The one thing, sorry, I was just reading the questions. The parking... So when you're down there, did you say there's one place where you can park for free?
No, please, no.
So when you get to Warrnambool, there is one area where you can park for free. Come up to registration and we'll let you know where that is. And as of the 28th of November, you'll be able to park anywhere on campus for free because they're decommissioning their parking fees. But until the 28th, there are parking fees. It's $6 all day if you don't want to walk to the football oval where the free parking is. But that they are out and inspecting. So you certainly want to make sure you either pay that or park at the Oval.
And I'd say you're about 15 minutes drive from town, but a little bit longer to walk. There is a bus and a bus schedule that you can get.
There's also, but there is there's a shopping centre within walking distance. There is a pub just a tiny few steps off campus. So there are all the amenities you would need within walking distance. It is a little bit of a walk to the shops though. There should be lots of people with cars. What we found last year is it was pretty easy to get a lift somewhere when you needed it.
Great. Okay, so in terms of textbooks and stationery and what should I bring in terms of that, we recommend bringing whatever makes you feel comfortable. Everybody's a bit different. A textbook and some pens and pencils is an absolute...
You mean a workbook?
A workbook, I apologise. A workbook and some pens and pencils is absolutely a great idea. A laptop as well, if you traditionally work off a laptop.
You will need I would say you will need a device that connects to the internet, and I strongly recommend something more powerful than a phone. So bring a laptop, bring a tablet, A lot of your Deacon work is going to be put up in the cloud for you. There are computer labs there that will be open, but it's going to be a lot easier if you have your own device. We also store a lot of documents for you in a Drive folder that we'll be asking you to access digitally. So, so definitely bring a device that connects to the internet.
Great. Okay. Just going through and checking through some of these.
So also there was a textbook question here.
Yep.
So a lot of your Deacon work will be put up in the cloud. So at this stage, have they been said anything about buying a textbook?
No, at this stage, everything will be digital.
Yeah. So I wouldn't worry about textbooks at this stage. Everything is going to be put up in the cloud for you, all the resources there as well.
Great. Okay. And then finally, the final kind of questions that we had about initial intensive were regarding on-staying. So you can absolutely continue your stay after II at Deacon if it works for you. It's $40 a night, but you must pre-arrange that now, and it is at your own cost. Bearing in mind that the 21st of December is the last day at II, and when you are free to go back home, and then you'll be expected in Warn Ponds in January, which will then be followed by the regional intensive. Storage of my possessions. So a couple of people mentioned that, like, where do I put all my things? I might decide in that moment that I will move down. Just to let you know, the only real place is in your bedroom or in your house, and you are sharing a lot of that space with the other associates. So you might again need to pre-arrange somewhere if you're choosing to bring down all your worldly possessions, as there isn't a vast opportunity to really place or store any of that. If you leave things in your car, bearing in mind you're leaving things in your car, we can't guarantee the safety of anything you choose to leave in your car. So we would much prefer you to have your things either on you, which is probably the safest place, or in your house. And then National Intercohort Week and Regional II are all one thing. They are part of your initial intensive in January. The reason it has two different names is because the International Intercohort Week is something that you will do all together, and then obviously the regional intensive is something that you will do in your regions. So we can confirm a few of those dates also, and Liam's going to do that for me.
Sure. So you'll be back on the 9th of January at Warn Ponds in Geelong for National Intercohort Week, and that runs till Friday the 13th. After that, we have the regional intensives. The dates for those regional intensives are as follows. Victoria will be from the 16th to the 18th of January. WA will be from the 18th till the 20th of January. The Northern Territory will be the 19th and the 20th. And ACT and Tasmania will be the 23rd and the 24th.
Great. Okay, well, if we have a look at our questions, we've kind of covered everything. So what it will be like in Warrnambool, what documentation you absolutely must have on you. Remember that 4 p.m, you must be there. You must be checking in at 4 p.m. on November the 17th. Checkout is December the 21st. So the last thing that you will be required to attend will actually be on the 20th, the evening of the 20th. So the 21st would be the best time for you to pack up and go. If you'd like to stay on, or if you need to stay on, there is that opportunity afforded to you. I think we've been pretty clear about attire and the school practicum and the things you can expect there. We recommend that you bring a laptop, as most of what you will be doing, or a device, an iPad, as most of what you will be doing will be on the cloud and will be digitally based. And that will certainly set you up for what it will be like doing the Deacon work. I think we've been pretty clear about the sessions. They are extensive, and the expectation is that you do attend all those sessions, that you are there, that you are working pretty extensively 6 days a week. With that, being organised is going to be key for you. Organising downtime, organising exercise, and organising, speaking to the people that are important in your life will be things that you need to do, and certainly things that Liam and I will both need to organise. Remembering that there are plenty of staff down there for you. Everybody is there to support you. If you connect in with someone, let that be your contact person. Otherwise, there are people that are regularly around, including Liam, Bernie and Bree. Remembering that kind of your mental health and well-being are really important to us. So if anything's coming up, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling stressed out, having those conversations with us so we can best support you and get you on top of your work. Making sure that you have done your pre-work, that all of that is done, as a lot of that will be requirements for some of the sessions you will do. That there are people that are attending II that won't have placement, so being mindful of that as well. And TFA will be supporting those people to find out as soon as possible when their placement is, and that will be a joint effort between recruitment, TLA and regions. Upon arriving, the recruitment staff is no longer your contacts. You are now part of the teaching and leadership team. It is exciting. It is fun. Everybody is pumped and ready to go. We're really excited about II. We cannot wait to get started. We cannot wait to get down there. I'm looking most forward to meeting you all, remembering Liam's top tip, which is get there before the bus. And trust me, considering what happened last year, get there before the bus if you're driving down. The rooms will be allocated when you get there. Remembering if you've given us a dietary requirement that it's important because we've catered for that you stick to that. But if there's any problems during that time, do let us know. I think we've covered everything.
Yeah, I just went through your questions. That's why I've been looking away from the screen to check anything else. The only few really minor things I saw on there that weren't covered are some people asking about the style of learning. There will be a lot of in-classroom learning. It's not lecture style. We will make you do a lot of different activities and role plays and that sort of thing. There will be a tiny bit of lecture style. There is also online module-based learning. There were some people on here who seemed a little bit stressed about the workload. It's called intensive for a reason. It will be intense, but everybody gets through it. So I would say one thing, we've talked a lot about wellbeing here. We've talked a lot about the pressure. The other thing I would say, this is my 4th intensive as either a participant or a coach, and now running the show. It's an awesome time. It's really great to be part of this community. Down in Warrnambool, it's so much better. I'm so jealous of the experience you're going to get compared to what I got as a cohort 2 associate here in Melbourne. It's a fantastic time. You definitely get downtime there. There's definitely good times to be had. Whether you're a person that likes to be around a crowd or likes to have time to yourself, it's a beautiful location. The people there are lovely. Both people from TFA, people from Deakin, and people in Warrnambool and the Southwest in general. So I'm actually really excited just to have a great few weeks with all of you. One thing I did notice going through all the questions, a lot of questions about the timetable, although some of those date back a few days. I've mentioned a team up calendar a bunch of times tonight. Have they got the team up? Great. So what email is that?
So you'll need to go through and look up for team up calendar. We'll make sure to put it in the associate blast. But remember, again, your pre-arrival guide is another fantastic place to find all the information that you need. Yep.
Excellent.
Last things last, we really want to make sure that you have a great experience. Being in regional groups is a new thing that we're doing. So if you're someone that likes to organise things, we really encourage you to start considering how you want to catch up regularly as a regional group, working out where you're all placed, if you have your placement details, and thinking about ways that you can regularly catch up. The most successful regions that we've seen are ones where they've had a wonderful mixture of both TFA staff and non-TFA staff regularly catching up outside of work, and that really creates a community and atmosphere that just thrives. So really considering that as you go along. All right, well, thank you absolute legends for sticking with us for almost an hour, 5 minutes off, 55 minutes. We really appreciate it. We're really excited to meet you if we haven't already. Liam, thank you so much for making time to chat with all our wonderful future associates.
No, it's a pleasure. Can't wait to see you all in, what is it? A week from today.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see you all face to face soon.